Ay, madre mía. Ese bendito teléfono, pues ya es que hay que pedir
Sí.
una cita con el neurólogo porque a ver si nos dan unas pastillitas para el Alzheimer.
Dios mío. Yo creo. Ah, ya estamos live.
Ah, sí, se está transmitiendo en
Hola,
vivo de
buenos
Facebook.
días a todos. Estamos aquí. Por cierto, esta entrevista va a ser en inglés y en español. Voy a empezar en español y voy a seguir con inglés. Bueno, estamos aquí con Carlos Ortiz, un profesor de inglés como segundo idioma. Y bueno, nada, nos abrió este espacio para que podamos conversar con él. Primero voy a empezar yo. Entonces, recuerden, la entrevista va a ser en inglés, pero voy a empezar en español. Si ustedes logran entender poquito o nada, ya saben que tienen que pulir ese idioma español y por cierto inglés, y por cierto lo pueden hacer con Carlos. Okay, so good morning everyone. My name is Sol Builes and I empower expats to fulfill their dream careers in an English-speaking country. So my clients are people that speak English as a second or third language. They have a professional career from their native countries or they are acquiring one in an English-speaking country. People who are very committed and motivated to succeed in their dream careers in an English-speaking country. So my own experience is I came here to the US. I came over to the US about 20 years ago. And I was very confused and I thought that I knew English, but I wasn't fluent at all. And I discovered that since I put my foot in the Miami airport and I couldn't understand anything. And I thought that I
Oh
knew
dear.
English because in Colombia, I took classes because I took classes at the school, at the university, college level, because I was doing different things. However, I didn't know any English. I wasn't fluent, and it took me years to acquire the English language. So it's not that simple. If you want to fulfill your dream career in an English-speaking country, you need to know how to speak English. And you need to know what level of English to get, because believe me, you can have a low level of English and maybe you can get a job at Burger King or something like that. It's nothing wrong with having a job in one of those places. But if you want to have a professional career, you need to have a good level of English. So that's why Carlos is here with me today and he's giving us this time. So Carlos, welcome, and thank you so much for giving me this interview. So how are you today?
Hello there. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Sol, for inviting me. It's a great privilege to be here with you once again. So I'm quite happy to be here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Carlos.
Should I present myself, introduce myself? My name is
Yes,
Carlos.
absolutely. Tell us about yourself.
I am Colombian. I'm 71 years old. I am a retired teacher from the university. I was teacher at university for 25 years. And I'm retired, but I still continue working and I still continue learning because I believe learning is a lifetime activity, a must. And I love it. I love learning. I love helping others to learn.
Thank you, Carlos. By the way, guys, and everyone, I met Carlos. I was taking 2 certificates from University of Oregon, and it was about teaching English. Yesterday, I told you that it wasn't in my heart to be a teacher. It wasn't in my heart to be an elementary school teacher as a Spanish teacher. However, it's in my heart to teach English and to teach people who are very committed. It's really in my heart. So when I was taking those certificates, Carlos was, and I don't remember, were you like a professor, instructional assistant?
Teacher assistant.
Yeah, you were a teacher assistant. So that's
PA.
how I met Carlos.
Yeah, that's how I met you. Yeah. Good times there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was lucky to get that job at the University of Oregon because it's not easy. But I've been interested in these MOOCs, in these courses for learning, these massive open online courses. And I got a lot of experience with that. So when I got the good contacts, I was in a position to show that I was important for them. So they invited me to participate with them. And it was a great experience.
Nice. And I learned a lot from you. So since then...
Oh, thank you. I also learned a lot from you. I'm still learning from you.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. So anyway, guys, everyone, I know there are people watching this. I don't see who. So if you have any questions, you can ask Carlos. Okay, Carlos. So we're gonna speak about English. I mean, there are many levels of English, but I learned this. There is social and there is work and academic English. So some people just stay here in the social English. So can you please tell us the difference between those two levels and how important is to get this one, the academic and job level?
Yeah, well, I'll say the academic English, which I was teaching at the university, it requires a lot more grammar. It requires a lot more abilities, especially not only to speak well, but to write well and to have a very good reading comprehension to pass the test and all that. You need a very good level, you know. Internationally, you know, all the universities nowadays use the European framework for language teaching that establish some standards for everyone all over the world, and then you use that at academic level. For social English, it's different. You need just to acquire expressions, and it's very situational. For example, that you can express yourself in different places, at the restaurant, here at a party, or different social levels. It's an English that is fast, that it requires learning a lot of idioms. Yeah, a lot of slang is very useful because when you are talking with people, they use a lot of slang. It's a language that is not learned at the university. It's a language that people speak in the street. So you have to get used to that. So to be able to understand, to listen to songs and understand the lyrics, and to talk to people in general, especially young people. Young people have a lot of slang. They use a lot of it, and I like it. I really enjoyed it.
All right.
And yes, and the laboral English for a job, that is, it can be focused on the area. For example, if you're going to work with an accountant's company or with a lawyer's bureau, so you have to be really, really used to speaking that particular kind of language. More than a jargon, it's just specific language for that area, because the meaning can change. For example, if you say a crown, in general a crown, well, you could think that a king uses a crown, or a beauty queen, yeah, and that it means that thing that the hat that they use. But for a doctor, for a dentist, it would mean something different. It's something that in your tooth you put a crown, yes, or for a mechanic it's something different. So you have to know the meaning of the words in that field. So for English for a job, you have to be familiar with the language that is used in that specific area. That's my opinion about it.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, and what about I mean, because I have the same, I made the same mistake, and I know many people make the same mistake. I thought that when I had the social English, that was enough for me to succeed at a job. And it wasn't even about the jargon. It was more about communicating, like expressing myself.
Yeah, you're right. People link the words when they speak in the street in very colloquial English. They link the words and you're like that. I had that experience last time I went to England, because I could never understand the waiters. You know, every time they spoke to me, because they speak, you know, people speak the way they are, and when people speak, they show their cultural background, their social background, and they speak the way their life is. Yes. For example, if you speak with a person who loves sport, it's very possible that this person uses a lot of sports jargon when they say anything. For example, if a person who likes football and does something good in their life, they can say, I scored a goal. They scored a goal, that means that they succeed in something, in some project that they have. Yes, doctors speak different. For example, first time I went to England, I couldn't understand the waitresses, and I was very frustrated. After speaking English so many years, and then I don't understand what they say, and I was frustrated. But later on I had the opportunity to speak with a doctor who was traveling in the train next to me, and we started talking, and I recovered my self-confidence, because say, wow, I understood everything. We had a great conversation with this doctor. That's because people speak in the way they live. Yes. So you cannot expect for a waiter to speak like an academic person. Yeah, that's different. And then you have, what you mentioned of a social situation is very important, and it's very different. You have to get into it. You have to dive into that specific kind of English and then get used to it.
Okay, so Carlos, what do you recommend so people can acquire more English, more fluency? Because some people, and we were talking about this when we were in live, people think that English happens once a week in the classroom. So tell us what people can do to acquire fluency in English.
Yeah, that's a fake paradigm. People think that if you pay a course and attend your lessons, you will learn, but it's not like that. You really learn. I mean, you don't even have to pay a course for learning. If you want to learn, you can do it yourself. Nowadays, it's easy. There are so many materials on the internet for free that you can just do it if you want to do it. All you have to do is to develop some autonomous learning skills, which most of us didn't get when we were educated, because we were educated under the traditional schooling system, and that traditional schooling system makes you dependent on the teacher, on your notebook, on the books. And finally, in the assessment ends up making sure if you remember all the things that were in the book. I mean, it's like revising your memory. But in my belief, the assessment should not only require all the information, but it has to check if you are able to do something with that information, I mean, that you have to be able to use it in a context. Yeah, maybe you can know how to say this, how to say that or the other, but you have to be able to use it in a context. And another thing is that you can learn to say things, but that's not speaking, because speaking is like a ping pong. That conversational skill requires that you go ask and answer questions, understanding what the other is saying and answering correctly. Yeah, so it's a matter of getting into it, diving into it, getting into it, and practicing a lot. Remember, once a guy was walking in New York with a guitar in his hand, and apparently he was lost, and then he called a policeman and said, could you please help me, sir? And the policeman said, yes, of course, what can I do for you? Say, how can I get to the Carnegie Hall? And then the policeman looked at him, saw his guitar in his hand, and said, practice, 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 practice. That's the way. That's the way to succeed. You have to practice.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. So I guess that the real assessment is in life. And if you are building a career, your real assessment is your success during the interview and when you are working.
Totally. Exactly, yes. You have to know what to do with it. It's what we call the competence. The capacity to do something in the context. And with ethical values. It's not only that you know how to do something, you have to have some ethic to do it. That's what I think. And also, nowadays, I'm using a trick to develop fluency, which is movies. Shadowing the movies. That means listening to movies and repeating the expressions the native people said, repeating them, trying to empower yourself, trying to acquire them, make them yours. And that way you start responding, not so much making up the ideas and translating them, but getting full sentences corresponding to full ideas when you want to express something.
Oh, thank you. That's a nice trick.
I believe that just when you have the sparkle of the idea in your mind, then immediately comes an expression for that, because you have practiced this expression for this idea. So you have worked with full ideas. I believe that helps a lot. It has helped me a lot, because sometimes I don't have the opportunity to speak with native speakers, and I noticed that when I spoke only with my students, I would end up speaking like my students.
Oh.
So I have to keep practicing myself, you know. It's like when you
Okay.
play chess. If you play chess with someone who plays less than you, the other will scale up, yes, will improve, yes, and I will go down. But if I play with someone who plays more than me, I will learn more until I get to the level of the other one. That happens.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, Carlos, tell me another thing. I mean, I know that I needed guidance when I was studying English because I studied by myself, but at the same time, I had to get a teacher to improve my English because at some point, doing it by myself wasn't enough. So, another myth that is out there is that, oh, you need to have a native speaker to teach you the language. And I've noticed that that's not correct. At least for me, when I was teaching Spanish as a second language to elementary school kids, I had to learn how to teach Spanish, even though I knew how to teach English. So tell me about that myth that it's gotta be a native speaker.
Totally. Here, the idea is that if you find if you have a native speaker as a teacher, then you sure will learn. But that's not true. That's not true. Yeah, it's like saying, like you mentioned, you're a native Spanish speaker, but if you're going to teach Spanish, then you find it so hard. Yes, because
Yes, it
we
was.
speak in Spanish because we speak it just like that, well, the way we listen, and we don't care how we speak. Yes, when we speak and the other understands, and we all we need is the practical purpose. Yes, to get what you need. But when you speak English, you have to think which tense you are using, which words you're selecting to say this or to say that or to express the other. You have to be a bit more careful, and then you have to practice a lot. That's important. Yes.
Yeah, and you really need to have someone that can guide you to learn the
Yes.
language. I'm gonna
Yes.
tell my experience learning Italian. I didn't become fluent, by the way. I just did it for some reasons, and after my reason was over, I didn't keep learning Italian. I hired three mentors in Italian, and one of them was a native speaker, and the three of them were native speakers. But two of them, I didn't learn anything. And it was so weird because they couldn't teach me the language. However, I only had one class with this mentor. She was native speaker, but she knew how to teach me the language. And I got more from one class with her than with the other two.
You made your point. That's it. Yes, exactly. So I know teachers who are not native teachers, and they are very good teachers, and they teach really well, and their students learn. And I know a lot of native speakers who are working as teachers, and their learning output, the learning results are very poor because they don't know how to teach. Sometimes they don't even know their own language. They don't know the
Wow.
grammar. They don't know the language, the syntaxes of the grammar. But the person who studied, who prepared to be a teacher, he is a teacher. Yes,
All
it's very
right.
common in Colombia. People believe that if you have like blue eyes and blonde hair and you look like a native American or British, then that's good teacher. No, it's not. No, you
Yeah,
might find a teacher looking like a Colombiano, but he's a teacher and he's a good teacher.
I know you're one, and you work for
Oh,
University
thanks.
of Oregon and many places. That's why you're here now. So, Carlos, tell me your experience teaching online to your students. Do you have any like students who have become bilingual already, like English, Spanish?
Oh yeah, many of them, many of them. I could mention a lot of engineers at the university, a lot of people who continued their process, and this was very rewarding for me, because most of my students, when they finish the course with me or whatever, or they finish or getting prepared for a test or whatever, they continue learning and they continue improving. And then I feel like I really succeed as a teacher because that was my mission, yes, to put them in the right way to continue learning. Because as I mentioned before, I believe learning never ends. I'm still learning, Maybe I know a few things or a lot of things, but there are a lot more things that I still need to learn about the language, about teaching, about myself, about the people, about interacting with people. And I believe that one of the keys with teaching online is making the other person feel like it's personal. That yes, it's not only that you're watching a screen, but there's a person behind the screen. You know, I believe that it's very important to make the other feel that there is a person, you know, a normal person with flaws and with good things and bad things, or a person who wants to help. I believe you learn more in a friendly atmosphere. That's why I don't believe being too serious. If you are too serious and demanding your students, they probably get scared.
Yes,
so I believe in being friendly and relaxed.
Thank you.
Besides, it makes my job easier and more enjoyable.
Yes, but anyway, you're friendly. Yeah, you're very friendly. Okay, Carlos, I included your contact information below the video.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
It is easyenglish.education.ueniweb.com.
Web.com, that's my webpage, yes.
Yes, and they can contact you there if they want to keep learning English. No, thank you. Thank you for being here. So before we end this interview, and please don't leave yet.
No, I won't.
I'm gonna finish the live in a few minutes, but I wanna have some words with you after. So what other tricks and tips can you give our viewers so they can learn English, or whatever tips you want to give them?
One thing that is very important is find someone to speak with. Not to be afraid to speak, you know, because sometimes it's normal, yeah. And there are days when you speak more, there are days when you speak less. But the worst that I noticed from my students and from my own experience is to be afraid of making mistakes. If you are afraid of making mistakes, then you make all the mistakes. It happened to me, you know. Sometimes when I speak with my friends, I feel relaxed and I speak. But when I'm going to speak for a linguistic authority, a philologist or someone like that, then I start getting nervous and then I start making mistakes. So one of the keys is get relaxed, relax, and use your English as much as you can. Never mind about making mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Nobody is perfect. Yeah. So mistakes are welcome because mistakes are opportunities to learn. You know. And one thing I noticed is we Colombians are very afraid of making mistakes because we don't want to look like ridiculous like that. We don't want to make people laugh from us.
That's true.
But obviously, for example, when Americans or British people come here, they start, por favor, ayúdame a pesar. They don't care. People laugh at them. They don't care. All they mind is just passing the message, you know, passing the meaning.
Yes.
Because that's functional, and that's the most important thing of a language, you know, to communicate.
That's true. Thank you so much. I also believe that when we stop like laughing and judging others, we stop judging ourselves, and we become free. We become free and we start talking because we don't care, because we don't judge anymore, especially ourselves.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I love that sensation. I love it. Yes, I like that. I love flying like that, flying free. Reminds me of you remind me of the movie Braveheart. Did you see it? Yes, of course.
Yes.
Yes. When he says freedom, it's a great feeling. Lots of emotion. Yes. It really thrilled me.
Yeah, that makes you free. Yeah. Okay, everyone, I don't see any questions. So, Carlos, thank you so much for being here.
Muchas gracias, Sol. Realmente un placer nuevamente estar compartiendo contigo. Qué agradable. Muchas gracias por la entrevista. Espero que lo que dije pudiera ayudarle a algunas personas.
Claro.
Very pleased to be with you. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias. Voy a parar el live y voy a conversar contigo un momentico. Okay, bye everyone.